Good day, everyone. We will be discussing fraction equivalence for today, wherein we will be understanding equivalent fractions for us to be able to order and compare them. Also, we will be learning how to generate equivalent fractions. In this lesson, one essential question that we will be answering is about how can you use multiplication to find equivalent fractions? Before I begin discussing to you how to answer this essential question, we have to define an important term. When we say equivalent fractions, these are two or more fractions that mean the same amount. They might appear different, but the value that they pertain to is actually just the same. For example, we have 1/2 and 3/6. These two fractions appears differently, but they are equivalent. You might be asking, Miss, how do we identify equivalent fractions? Or we should say, how do we generate equivalent fractions? This particular problem on your screen is about equivalent fractions. This is a particular way on how we can apply it in a real-world setting. Sarah needs 3/4 cup of dish soap to make a homemade bubble solution. Her measuring cup is divided into eighths. What fraction of the measuring cup should Sarah fill with dish soap? This is a kind of problem that you might be encountering with problem solving in this topic. In order to generate equivalent fractions, we have to choose one particular number, and you have to multiply it to both your numerator and denominator of the given number. Reminder, it should be a whole number that you will be multiplying to your numerator and denominator. And whatever number you will be multiplying to your numerator should be the same for your denominator. This is to ensure that you are not changing the value of the fraction. For example, we have to find an equivalent fraction for 2/3. In this example, I use the number 2. So I have to multiply the numerator 2 with my chosen number 2. So that gave me 4. Then the denominator 3 was also multiplied to 2. That gave me 6. This 4/6 that we got is an equivalent fraction to 2/3. You might be asking, Miss, is it always 2 that we have to multiply the fraction with? No. This is not restricted only with number 2. You may use any whole number that you want to, and it will result into its equivalent fraction. For example, the same fraction that we have 2/3, but this time, I will multiply it with 5. So both numerator and denominator should be multiplied with 5 as your chosen number. 5 times 2 will give us 10, while 5 times 3 will give us 15. This 10/15 is still equivalent to our 2/3. Another equivalent fraction would be 2/3 multiplied this time by 7. 2 times 7 will give us 14. 3 times 7 will give us 21. This 14/21 is equivalent to 2/3. Again, let me repeat. The chosen number that you will have should be multiplied to both numerator and denominator. This is to ensure that you are not changing the value of your fraction. So another example would be 4/5. In this case, I use the number 3. So 4 times 3 is 12. 5 times 3 is 15. The equivalent fraction to 4/5 in this example is 12/15. But we may use other number. So this one, I'll give you times 4. So both numerator and denominator is multiplied by 4. So 4 times 4 is 16. 5 times 4 is 20. This 16/20 is still equivalent to 4/5. You see, even if you're using different numbers, you will still get an equivalent fraction. For as long as you are just using one specific number to multiply your numerator and denominator. Now let's try to have some practice. Write the fraction or find the fraction equivalent to 3 over 8. Again, to remind everyone, you may use any counting number in getting an equivalent fraction to 3/8. So think, what number would you choose? In this case, I will be choosing 5. You may use other numbers if you wish to. So let's have 3 times 5 is 15. 8 times 5 is 40. 15 over 40 is one equivalent fraction to 3/8. Another one might be times 8. 3 times 8 is 24. 8 times 8 is 64. This fraction that we got is still equivalent to our original fraction 3 over 8. Let's have another one. Find a fraction equivalent to 2/5. In this fraction, I will choose the number 6 to multiply our original given fraction. So 2 times 6 is 12. 5 times 6 is 30. This fraction now is equivalent to 2/5. Another one can be 2 over 5 or 2/5 times 10. 2 times 10 is 20. 5 times 10 is 50. This fraction as well is equivalent to 2/5. For as long as you can multiply the number by the given fraction, you can get its equivalent fraction. Let's try some independent practice. I'll give you 3 minutes to answer this problem. You may pause and then play it again once you're done. Now let's try and read this problem. Jamal finished 5 over 6 of his work. Margaret finished 3/4 of her homework. And Steve finished 10/12 of his homework. Which two students finished the same amount of work? In this problem, you will see there that all of the three fractions have different denominator. In this particular problem, we will be applying your knowledge of LCM. So we have the denominators, 5 over 6 with 6. This is for Jamal. For Margaret, we have 3/4 where the denominator is 4. Then for Steve, we have 10 over 12 with denominator 12 on the fraction. You will have to look for the LCM of all the denominators 6, 4, and 12. Looking back with your lesson on LCM, the LCM of these numbers are 12. If you forgot already how to do LCM, you may watch the video again entitled Least Common Multiple. Now that we have the LCM 12, we should put all the new set of fractions in terms of 12 as their denominator. Then, we have to find the numerator by simply dividing, or rather, get a number that would take us to an equivalent fraction with denominator 12. So in this case, we have 6 becomes 12 by multiplying it by 2, correct? Do the same thing for the number on top. So we will have 5 times 2 is 10. Then, for the second one, from 4, for it to become 12, we have to multiply it with 3. 4 times 3 is 12. Using 3 as well, we have to multiply it with our numerator. So 3 times 3 is 9. Then lastly, since for Steve, the denominator is already 12, therefore, it will stay as it is. Now that we have all the fractions in its equivalent form, or equivalent fraction form, identify who are the two students that have the same amount of homework done. The correct answer is Jamal and Steve. This is the solution for our problem now. So as you see, whenever we're trying to answer a word problem, it's not always about one particular topic. I hope you've learned something today. Thank you.